You ask yourself, what's holding the Clippers back from getting or making any trades? You ask yourself, why haven't they pulled the trigger yet? Let's talk about a reason why or what's holding them back from getting or acquiring any new talent. I said before, even in the offseason, the Clippers passed up on some trade opportunities that they had that I thought was feasible for their team to make, especially with the pieces that they currently have. Adding certain pieces that I saw in this offseason definitely would help them in a lot of ways. Actually would be helping them now in regards to staying afloat, because even though the Clippers are in the fifth seed, between the fifth and sixth seed right now in the West, it's only a few games between the sixth seed and the eighth seed. It's only like 2 or 3 games apart. So it's not like they're, locked into a seed where they're actually good. It's actually fighting for every position, every seed, every day. They're fighting all the time to stay afloat in the seedings, stay in their position, and kind of keep themselves afloat as much as they can until Kawhi Leonard comes back. And that's going to be a tough task, but I mean, they're definitely up for the challenge. And, even this season, if you heard me talk about these recent videos about, players that they, definitely looking into, even some I don't even agree with, like Kemba Walker and John Wall. But I mean, they're candidates that the Clippers have been looking into. And of course, there's been other ones as well. But to me, right now, the Clippers, to me, the question is, why haven't they pulled the trigger on any of the trades? Honestly, it's really hard for the Clippers to pull any triggers or do anything right now because they don't have any cap space. I mean, they were going to be over the cap whether they re-sign Kawhi Leonard or not, regardless. And like I said, they gave up a lot of picks and everything to acquire Paul George. They really don't have any assets. And when you don't have any assets, it just makes you very, very weak and very, very reduced in a situation where you want to be able to pull triggers and get, better competition, you want to get better players on your team so you can better your chances against the competition out there who's acquiring a lot of talent. Because even though you look at a team like the Lakers, they're not playing well. They don't have the best chemistry right now, but for some reason, if they ever found a way to get it and stay healthy, they would be a really, really tough team to beat because look at all the talent they have. I mean, they got 3 superstars and they got a bunch of role players on the bench who can shoot and who can knock down big shots. So when you look at their team and their roster overall, if they're able to put it together, they definitely can do something. And as of right now, I don't believe they're going to do anything as long as they have Westbrook until they can find a way to, tame him or do something different, maybe trade him, but that's another story for another day. But my point is this, it's always good to have cap space so you can have the opportunity to draw and get other players, get other big names on your roster, because really that's what the NBA is all about. You have to get all the talent you can so you can secure yourself and give yourself more of an opportunity and more of a chance to win a championship, better your chances of winning a championship. In order to do that, you have to put, talent, you have to put big names in those on the roster so you can fill seats in the arenas and have the opportunity to not only be looked at as a contender, but become a contender. And that's something that the Clippers definitely are looking into or want to look into more, but they can only do but so much because they really don't have no cap space and they really don't have much opportunity to do so. Precisely the reason why I feel like they found a way to resign some of the pieces that they had this offseason, which is, Reggie Jackson and certain pieces, Batum and players like that, which I'm glad they did, I'm saying, especially by what I saw last year in the playoffs. I was definitely encouraged by those type players and other players on the team as well. But the Clippers really don't have much to give. And, honestly, another big name that's been out there for a while that a lot of people kind of like put on the radar now is Bradley Beal. And Bradley Beal is one of the players that I feel like the Clippers definitely looked at, definitely would like to have. I mean, honestly, if it was Christmas today, which it will be in a few days, under the Christmas tree, they'd like to have Bradley Beal under there. They definitely would. But I mean, in all essence, it's probably not going to happen because unless they make some drastic change in regards to roster changes or something like that, the cap is really not in their favor. The cap space is not in their favor, and it hasn't been in a while. And it's like, how much can they really do? It's like their hands are tied. And I know a lot of fans don't want to hear that, but honestly, that's pretty much the reality for this team. They have pretty much what they have, and they got to work with what they got. And hopefully they stay healthy enough to, make a run and get a championship. But that would be the only way that things would change for them in regards to that. But, honestly, right now, I know the Clippers definitely want to pull the trigger on, at least one or two trades. Because, honestly, there is some out there that'll fit. Some people might say Miles Turner would fit with the Clippers, or maybe Caris LeVert or Sabonis, or somebody like that, or maybe even Ben Simmons, or maybe John Wall. You see what I'm saying? There's options out there, or Woods on the Houston Rockets. He's another good prospect. I think that will fit good with the Clippers. So it's like, there's options out there for the Clippers, but the problem is, how much can the Clippers do, and how much assets do they have? And honestly, if you look at it, they don't really have any. Like I said, they used a lot to get Paul George there. They got Kawhi Leonard, and like I said, they got a lot of pieces around there. They signed a couple of years ago. What was it, last year, I think, year before or whatever? Luke Kennard, $64 million contract. Then you got Marcus Morris, $64 million contract. You see what I'm saying? It's so much they have going on. It's really understated, or has been understated, the reason why they haven't been able to make any real trades. They acquired Eric Bledsoe, but really that was almost like, an exchange, not really actually a really true good trade to me, because like I said, they were just trying to get rid of Patrick Beverley, I think, because of the antics that he had, and then the thing he did, the push in the back with Chris Paul, and maybe some other things he might have done in the locker room, who knows. But I think more or less they were just trying to get rid of him rather than actually find somebody who's actually better than he is, or up to his level of talent or something like that. And I think they were trying to get rid of Rondo too, because his locker room presence just was fading with a lot of players, and he was in the doghouse with Ty Lue. So situation like that might be a little different, but I just feel like the Clippers don't really feel like they have much assets. The reason why they haven't pulled the trigger on nobody yet, because honestly, you would think by now they would at least got maybe like John Wall out of anybody, because John Wall, I think, honestly, he's ready to leave Houston, been ready. And I think the buyout situation with him was definitely relevant at the time. So, it's just so much that goes into the situation with the Clippers. And it just seems like situations like this always backfire on them specifically. They have to find a way to, produce though. And them as an organization, you're getting a new arena here soon. You got Kawhi and PG, but at the same time, they need help because other teams are trying to stack up as much as they can. And now that Kyrie is even going to be playing part-time with the Nets, eventually he might actually get vaccinated and start playing full-time with the Nets. So now you got a big three over there, and now it's going to be even hard to beat them if they gel and get the right chemistry that they need to actually go through the regular season and go through the playoffs and dominate the way we know they can if they're all together. So now you got to look at that as a potential threat towards you. So when you look at that in its entirety, the Clippers can definitely use more talent. I always said before, I don't care what team it is or how many players on there or who you like and who you don't like. If a team has a chance to better themselves, they have to go after and go do it. But right now, according to, if you look at last year in the offseason up until now, the Clippers really don't have no way of doing so. Their hands are tied. Not unless they can really, pull off some magic trick or something like that. Maybe that would be feasible more than actually their cap space issue, because they really just don't have no assets and they're really a liability in the situation in order for them to get what they want, which is the reason why I feel like they're hesitant in what they're doing. And I'm not saying that the Clippers would not make, or win a championship without, making a trade. But I'm just saying, I feel like if they can make a trade that can better their life and make their life easier and make them a way better team with a trade with a big name player, or a player who can really, come on the team and give them the extra, gameplay in regards to high basketball IQ, and give them maybe some championship experience. If they are able to land somebody like that, that would be great too, which is specifically the reason why I said in the offseason they should have landed a player like Kyle Lowry. And I think you have to understand too, as always, Kawhi Leonard started this situation. He started everything with this team, the Kawhi Town, everything, and the whole movement with LA our way, we got now. He started this whole thing. So honestly, the pieces and the moves that they make have to go through him as well. And when you think about that, how should I say this? how much do you think Kawhi Leonard would have really loved to have Kyle Lowry and Serge Ibaka on his team? And possibly they had a chance to get Marc Gasol too at the time. How much do you think Kawhi Leonard would have loved to have players like that on his team? Because if he had players like that on his team, which he does have Serge Ibaka, but if he had a Marc Gasol, which they had opportunity to get him in the offseason, and maybe Kyle Lowry, not only he would feel like he's in Toronto again, but he also would feel like this team is definitely going to stay afloat and definitely going to be right there in the end with the best of the teams, because now he has a championship point guard, another championship big man who could stretch the floor and who can teach the younger guys how to play the game from a different angle and a different perspective and show them why he's actually leading by example. And those are the type of things that help you win when you have players like that on your team. That's the reason why Toronto won it in one season, because they had all the right pieces that they needed to put in place anytime a team tried to attack them in different ways. Nick Nurse just made an adjustment because he had all the right pieces to do so. And shout out to him for actually winning that championship along with Kawhi Leonard. He definitely was the main guy, so we ain't got to speak on that. But that's my point. The Clippers definitely had their hands tied, and they definitely can't do but so much. But at the same time, that's not what the fans want to hear. You got to put talent on that team, and you got to find a way to win. And like I said, right now the window is starting to close for the Clippers, and like I said, they're getting younger and younger. I mean, you look at like Brandon Boston, Jay Scrubb, you got Terrence Mann, and like I said, you got Luke Kennard, you got a lot of young players on this team. So it's like, of course you could win with these players. I believe you can, because we saw a lot of resiliency in last year's playoffs, but you also got to look at it as an organization. If we can get just hypothetically, of course they can't get Kyle Lowry now because Kyle Lowry's on the Heat, but hypothetically, if this was the offseason, they could have, if they had the asset and the cap space, they could have went and got somebody like Kyle Lowry. They may have had to give up a couple players, but Kyle Lowry is definitely worth a couple players off your bench because he's a championship point guard, and we all know what he can do in the playoffs because he showed it and he put it on display for everybody to understand how good of a point guard he is, and he's definitely worth enough being on a championship team. And this is my thing with the Clippers. You have to find ways to get the players and the talent you need. You have to, and then they're going to have to find a way to pull something off because, like I said, it's only going to get tougher and tougher, and you can't expect the young guys on this team to step up and be championship caliber, high IQ basketball players when the playoffs start. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to have mishaps, and the Clippers are going to have to deal with it overall while they're trying to win and compete for a championship. And a lot of times that's just so difficult to do. So if you have an opportunity to give yourself a chance to pull off a decent trade and get a good name or good assets back in return, you definitely want to do that. And like I said, Bradley Beal is one of the ones they actually looked at in regards to trying to get him paired with, Kawhi and PG, which I think that would be a pretty good, pretty good threesome there. You know what I'm saying? They would have a pretty good, 3-star power type team if they're able to, if the Clippers were able to pull that off. But like I said, I don't see it happening no time soon, and I don't know what the Clippers are going to do as far as making any trades. We'll see, but it's almost at this point, somebody would have to damn near give the Clippers a player in order for them to actually really, go along with it, because they really don't have much to give back. And honestly, you can lure teams by saying, oh, we're a championship caliber team, but players need money. Players want money. Players want that bag. They don't want no excuses, and they don't want no promises. They want the bag along with the promise, because if they get in the bag along with the promise, well, promises are meant to be broken. So if you break your promise, I already got paid in the process, so it's a win-win for me. And that's the way players are going to look at it. So honestly, it's going to be hard for the Clippers to get anybody there, with a substantial name in the NBA that can actually probably help them win, because like I said, it's so much that goes into it, cap space wise, the money overall that they have left in regards to, just for the team and the organization itself and things they're trying to do, and trying to, fit everybody else in and keep everybody else there as much as they can, keep the core together as much as they can. And they got 2 max players in Kawhi and PG. So, it's definitely hard for the Clippers organization to make any moves. But hey, like I said, as an NBA fan, you definitely want to see any team make a move and find a way to do it. It's their job, and that's what they get paid to do. So you got to find a way to make it happen, because I think if the Clippers had one more formidable weapon, I definitely think it'll better their chances of not only winning a championship, but at the same time, I think it'll better their chances as just being an overall, contending team, who can win and who has a possibility, who has an opportunity to possibly make it to a finals if they have the right talent around them. And they can definitely make a run at the championship if they're able to acquire any new talent that can actually help them get over the hump, whereas they couldn't do it last year. Because hypothetically, Kawhi Leonard, he went down last year, but if they had somebody like Kyle Lowry, or maybe like hypothetically a Goran Dragic, or somebody like that, maybe they beat a team like Phoenix because they had that extra person who can actually control a game and actually go out there and knock down big shots and take big shots with confidence and be fearless, and who's a veteran in the league that a lot of people respect. You see what I'm saying? It's little things like that. It's players like that you need to get you over the hump sometime when certain obstacles happen. And that's what the Clippers needed. And, they didn't have that, of course. And looks like this year they won't have that. So they just got to hope that Kawhi and PG get back healthy and keep the team afloat as much as they can and carry them, put them on their back and try to get to a finals. But hey, that's my take on the situation. You leave any comments in the comment section and let me know what you think, as always. And hey, Cali out.